Aw.
Hey,
Hey there.
everybody. Welcome to Don't Worry Wednesday. Jesse says we're on, so we must be.
Mm-hmm. Unless he's
Yeah.
alive. Go ahead. I'm
Yes.
alive. Jeez.
Welcome. Oh, Lay, you're too kind. Master Lay calls us two angels.
Aw, that's very sweet of you.
Thank you. Wow. It's great to see all of you. It's great to be here. Welcome. This is a show, if you've not been here before, this is a show where we handle any issues or challenges people may be having. You can feel free to post them in the chat down there. You can feel free to send us an email at dww@bss.studio, or you can post them on our website here, right here. And Princess beat me to it again. She's so good.
She's quick. She's fast.
Yes. Wow. Thank you, Princess. Princess is our chat room hostess, and Jesse is our producer. We're not professional therapists or counselors or anything like that. We're not a substitute for professional counseling. We just want to be your friend, and we want to help in any way we possibly can to help you work through any challenge that you might be going through. So with that, I'm Joe, and up above me in this rightful place is Ryan.
Hey.
How you doing, Ryan?
Great. How you doing?
Man, I'm so good. I feel like I've been hanging out with you all day.
Me?
Yeah.
Wow. I haven't even been in your presence. It's great.
I know. I've been working on a promotional video for our Kickstarter campaign that's coming up, and so I've been staring at Ryan's face.
Are you trying to say that this very short moment of time that we've had together, it just felt like all day?
No, it's been since this morning. I've been looking at you.
For
Of course,
you,
you've been saying the same thing over and over and
over and over and over. I know. I get annoying. That's what I always do.
That's awesome. Oh, Deku. Deku says, first off, I want to thank you both for the advice you guys gave on final exams last week. I actually passed my math final, and our advice helped. Great.
Awesome.
That's awesome.
That is awesome.
Yeah. So, wow. Well, all the awesome people are here. So we should probably just get rolling, eh? We got a whole bunch of topics in here.
Let's do it.
Let me pull up the list, actually. That'd be a good idea, huh? Oh, yes.
Having trouble with Google. Google wants me to be signed in, and then like whenever I'm signed out, it just says my account is paused. So I'm trying to sign a different account, but it will not let me. So it's kind of weird.
Why did you pause your account?
I don't even know what paused means. Heard of that before. All right, I got it working. All right. Cool.
Awesome.
Find out. I'm just trying to get to the website so I can see the chat and be in the right account. But I figured I got it all working now. Talk back to me. Boomerang.
Nice. So we've got our list. So wow, we've got if Angel Dead or Akil, I've seen you. And we still have a couple old ones from you if you'd like us to handle any of those. Nox, Amira, Snowlock, Lay, Deku. Did some of these we handle already?
No.
Okay.
Wait. No, we didn't do Snowlock last night.
Okay.
Or last time.
Well,
we did not do Dekus.
Okay. Rose, Aaron, Science, Nathan, Cherry, Kendra, JoJo, and Anonymous. Wow. Yeah. Thank you guys so much for all your posts, and thank you also for your patience as we go through them. I know sometimes it can be frustrating if you have to wait a while before we get to your topic, but thank you guys very much for that. So let's see. Did we do Sepner by Akil?
We did one of them. I believe we did Sepner because upside down would be, what was it? Judas.
Yes.
Rotated rather, not upside
I
down.
well, I remember talking about it. Yes.
Yeah.
But did we actually handle the topic, or did we just talk about the topic? Okay, Princess says we were about to.
We were
But
about
we
to.
didn't. Okay, that's all right.
Yeah, I remember that.
All right.
I remember talking about that
Hmm.
part, but then not actually doing it because we had to switch for some reason.
Oh, the stream got cut off, and it was long, and it needed extra reading.
Mm-hmm.
Ah, yes. Princess, you're so amazing.
Thanks for remembering.
Mm-hmm. So, okay. Well, do you want to start with Akil's?
Which one?
Sepner.
All right. Sure.
Let me actually get to it here.
But did you read through all of it? Because I did not.
Me neither. We can read through it now.
All right.
It's the beginning of the show. We can go through a long one.
Yeah, go through it. Go for it.
There we go. Okay. Oh, Princess. Princess posted it already.
Posted the link. Yeah. She's quick. She's super
She
quick.
is. She is. I'm going to post it for Jesse, though, so he can paraphrase it.
Yeah. Actually, I think the paraphrasing is at the bottom.
Oh, there's no need to be sorry, Princess. It's just that you're so amazing.
Yeah.
All right. Let's see. Okay, so this is from Akil, and it's called Sepner. So, and it's broken up into parts. So we're going to just go through it,
And read it.
and it'll be awesome. So, all right, this is from Akil, and he says, "Turn it upside down, and you will see the real title, and it's Judas." And it says,
Which is pretty
"It
cool.
hasn't been a week since the last, but my problems know no pause. So here we are again, because apparently I left my back exposed. I don't know which is the case. Are rogues drawn to me, or am I the one drawn to them? I loved people, yet nowadays I'm starting to reconsider who deserves it. I've been backstabbed a couple of times in my life. Hold no ill intent. They were just misguided," is what I used to tell myself. Maybe I'm being too hopeful. Maybe I'm being a hypocrite. My school days got making questionable decisions. A lot of them I still regret to this day. One of them was resorting to violence. I studied in an all boys secondary school, so a little show of dominance was to be expected. I was small and still am, so I looked like an easy target. I held back for as long as I could, but one day I just decided to change my approach. I hate to admit it, but I remember having some sort of pleasure over going overboard. I kept telling myself, "You didn't start it, but enjoy it as you end him." I hated it, the fact that it worked. I walked a lonely path, safe but alone, over the next year before a fateful encounter with a few young men that changed my life. However, that'll be the story for another day. With the nature of what I do, having a lot of acquaintances is necessary. I wanted to call them friends, but I doubt how I've been trying to use that word over the years. Remember, I'm a person of questionable character that is drawn to drawing the ones that also have questionable characters. One of them was a thief. I met him again sometime after we graduated secondary school, the very fateful day he decided it was a good idea to lift my wallet. It wasn't, and the men around me beat his face in. I only recognized him after the dust settled, and I took him to a clinic with a lengthy lecture along the way. We got closer, though, as we managed to catch up. I learned that he wasn't doing it for the money, at least not anymore. He did it because he was bored and wanted to mess with bad people. Apparently, I looked like one. Maybe he was right. I can't let it slide, though, and an opportunity was taken. I decided to drag him to volunteer work with me. I could watch over him this way, and he could do something about this community that he very hate how it's turning. We both found joy in atonement, and he took it a step further by going full time as I had to roll into university. I thought I was right to bring him into an organization where the adults are kind and are able to guide us young men. He was one of the few people that kept me up to date with my hometown situations, but it changed recently. He stole again. Our multicultural country has Chinese as the second highest percentage of race, half of mine being the highest. That's the reason I was tolerant. I was only half-blooded. However, he is full-blooded, and the bloodbath that happened on Friday changed him, changed us. A certain insensitive comment from a Chinese politician changed his perception. He can't trust them anymore. I didn't want to believe it. I wanted it to be him framed or something, but I was wrong. He was caught again. This time, he didn't turn to the better, though. This time, he wanted to be caught to make a statement. He stole from one of our Chinese donors, saying that he had ulterior motives. The Chinese may have brought the word kaisu here, but I have seen hope in them. After all, Borneo held up fine, didn't it? 3 countries on one island, and they made it beautiful. That one guy named by the people to be Minister of Unity, Mr. Potato, was also a Bornean. The Chinese take care of their people, and on the east side of my country, it meant everyone, more than just Chinese. Sorry for breaking this into parts. I've been occupied with calls over from my hometown. The charges were dropped, he was bailed, but the distrust is still there. I managed to talk to him over the phone. It has only been recent, but the distance between us is already clear. I was labeled a traitor of our people. Heh, they always forget the details when it is convenient for them. What can I do with this guy now? And then there's this other guy that was also thrown into lockup for a day. Goodness, the incident from last week did push people out of character. This guy ended up in lockup over a fight in a restaurant. Apparently, he had a family involved in the Christchurch incident, and it was very unstable. Listening to people laughing and talking in Cantonese, English, and Tamil managed to tick him off. He basically called them immigrants, told them that they should respect the national language, and insulted them with non-family friendly words. A small fight between him and a few guys escalated as the people in the crowd started to take sides and joined in. I still wonder how he got out so quickly, but now I got to deal with him soon too. I haven't been talking to him for quite a bit, but all I could remember was how respectful and polite he was. Phoned him too and got called a traitor again. He said, I'm being too lenient and I'm letting others take our rights as the majority of the land. This guy also conveniently forget who I actually am. He did a 180 and he probably convinced a couple people to join him now. Things got awkward with the other races now. Sure, they aren't hostile to me or anything, but there's this feeling I had that they're holding off something. I really hope it was just a shock over what happened last week instead of, oh, this guy is half majority. Should we even trust this privileged shorty? Maybe it's true that I'm a liar. I'm just a sick kid that tried to keep unity holding on because it might be inconvenient for me. Question. How can we handle people that went back to or fall into their darker days? What can you do when your ally is actively going against your original shared purpose? And how can we gain the trust of people after being generalized? And that is from Akil.
Wow.
Akil, thank you for the story. There is a lot in there, and there's a lot that I know I can talk to. But I'm going to turn it over to Ryan and let him get started.
All right. Yeah, I honestly don't know what to say quite yet. There's a lot there. Joe has something apparently. That's cool.
Do you want me to start then?
Yeah, I would love that.
Okay. Well, a couple things. One, to your first question, how do you handle people that fall back into their darker days? You know, I think all of us are in danger of doing that. I know that temptations always seem to catch me, regardless of how far I've gone, you know, how far I've moved in a positive direction. There are still old habits that tempt me. And once in a while, you know, I succumb to that temptation because I'm not perfect and I'm a weak human being. And it happens. And those times, it's good that grace exists in the world. And that's how, you know, that's how I would probably try to handle anyone. Now, it's not always easy to do that. It's, in fact, a lot of times when it's a personal affront and somebody takes something from you or does something to hurt someone you love, then that can be really, really hard to forgive and to offer that grace. But there are stories that you hear of people that, they had a child. Recently, I heard a story of a family where a teenage daughter was murdered,
Mm.
and the parents of the daughter, after they had the trials and everything, and the guy got convicted, and the rightful killer got put in jail. The parents actually would be one of his only visitors in jail because they wanted to talk to him and they wanted to, not to harass him, not to be mean to him, and not to yell at him or anything like that, but because they cared for this guy's soul. And so they wanted to actually bring him to Christ. So they would visit with the guy and just talk to him and get to know him and forgive him to his face and do the best they could to love him. And when I hear a story about something like that, it, first of all, it blows my mind because I'm like, I don't understand how a parent would be able to do that. I look at my own kids and I'm like, if somebody killed one of them, would I be able to do that same thing? You know, I really don't know. That would be so hard. But yeah, that if we can have grace with others and allow them, to have a second chance, because we all screw up, we all make mistakes, we all slide backwards, into old habits. It happens to every single one of us, and if it hasn't happened to you recently, then that's great. But we always have to remain vigilant because we can fall back. And you know when we do, it's nice to have somebody around us that can, help us to forgive ourselves, first of all, and to also offer that grace so we can grow. Um, as far as the other guy who's all about respecting the national language, man, there are so many Americans I know that are like that.
Mm-hmm.
It's
Mm-hmm.
ridiculous. I mean, English is so common around the world now, so, um, but we still have people that have trouble with English. And, I hear all the time people, man, they need to learn how to at least speak our language if they're going to come here illegally, blah, 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 and I'm just like, seriously, you don't know that person's story. They might be a refugee from somewhere. They might have escaped with the shirt on their back, and that's what they're here with, and they are lost. They don't know what the heck to do. And
Yeah.
all of a sudden, here they are. They show up, and somebody's gonna just be like, "Well, you don't speak any English," and kind of deride somebody for that. And you know, it just shows that people need to grow a little bit. People need to open their heart and remember, sometimes we need to put ourselves in another person's shoes and say, what would you do if you had trouble speaking the language? You might do the best you could to communicate, and who knows? But yeah, um, that's about all I have to get started. Ryan,
Oh,
do
yeah,
you have
yeah. Thanks.
anything?
Thanks for giving me a little bit more time on it.
Yeah.
I appreciate it too. And I think that's what you said is very important. There are many times where you can do nothing but just be patient with people and do your best with them while they are currently suffering or currently going through issues, and even putting themselves against their friends and putting themselves up against themselves. There's
Hmm.
also different things people are dealing with, and sometimes you just kind of have to be patient with them and just give them that grace of forgiveness and so on. But yeah, uh, I saw you mentioned a dark story where You said your comrade hung himself in a cell to prove that you both can't change, and both of you guys are rotten. And that's really really unfortunate because you can look back at your life and you can see all the times you've changed,
Mhm.
whether it was on purpose or an accident. You can look back, no matter who is listening. You can look back and say, "Oh, I am different than when I was 2. I'm different than when I was 3, and I'm different when I was 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13." Like every year, you see difference in yourself, and
Mhm.
some of that is on purpose, and some of it is just by being around different people. Some of it's accidental, some of it's maturity, all sorts of different stuff, right? We change constantly. We're constantly changing human beings, and that's part of what makes life difficult, but also part of what makes life awesome. Um, so yeah, it's unfortunate that someone would go to those lengths, but when someone has like an emotional battle and they don't want to lose, sometimes they go to extremes like that. Um, because a lot of times when people oftentimes like get to a point where they can't argue the truth anymore. And so in order to avoid it, they just end it. Not just saying they end their lives. There are other more subtle, softer situations that happen where they just end it and they're just like, nope, I don't want to talk to you anymore. And it's like, okay, great. That gets us nowhere, you
Mhm.
know. And it's unfortunate, but um, yeah, I'm very sorry to hear that. To the question though, there's a couple of things you said here. How can we gain trust of people after being generalized? That's one that I can definitely um, relate to.
Mm.
Um, you know, in America, excuse me, it's probably like this all around the world, but in America, if you've got long hair, the people will generalize you. Um, in America, they'll think that you are a druggie, you're lazy, you smoke pot, and you just kind of have bad manners. You don't know. Um, you think you're cool, all sorts of different stuff, right?
Mhm.
Um, and so the way that I break through that barrier is just talk with them. You'll find that people who generalize you based on your race or based on your looks, um, as soon as you talk to them and you have a mature conversation with them, you make them feel good about themselves, right? You take time to point out what's good about the other person. In like almost instantly, people start to no longer generalize you. People start to see you as a human being, an individual human being with their own beliefs and views, and ones they can probably um, share those views with. Um, so when it comes to generalization, you can't get away from it when it comes to people who don't know you.
Mhm.
The best way to fix that is to get to know people. Allow yourself to be visible and vulnerable because that's the only way you're going to change how people think of you. Because you have to let them get close enough to see that you are different than what they think. Um, so you do have to let yourself be vulnerable. But a lot of times, I mean, you'll be fine. And if someone tries to hurt you when you allow them to be a friend or you allow them to get close to you and you talk with them, and if they are if you can sense their intentions are bad, and they're not going to try to see what kind of person you are, they're just going to insult you and stuff like that. um, there are still opportunities. Like I said, if someone comes at you with an attack or an insult and it's like being um, assumes you're something that they're against and they're being cruel to you, uh, if you open up with patience and kindness, you will be surprised at how people just calm down and start to look at you as a human being. Joe and I have both experienced this in
Mhm.
the field that Joe is still a part of as an inspector, a property inspector. We go around for mortgage companies, which people don't like their mortgage companies because all they want is money. Um, and they're often why they have a lot of stress in life because they're trying to, like, we go to the houses where people are losing their houses. because
Mhm.
they can't pay their um, mortgage companies. Um, and so because they can't pay, they're stressing out and they hate their mortgage company, right?
Mhm.
We go to their houses and we take pictures of their houses without asking them because we don't need to ask because it actually belongs to the mortgage company,
Mhm.
that house. And so then they see us taking pictures, they run to their house, they're angry, right? And sometimes we can approach the door, knock on it, and be like, hey, I have to give you this card, this letter. It's from the mortgage company. Or even it's like, we don't even like, honestly, even sometimes you knock on the door and you haven't even said anything yet and they're yelling at you. And you're like, dude, you don't even know who I am yet. Like, just wait till you find out. Really mad. You know? I mean, but you will be surprised that when people make enemies out of you, if you just sit there calmly, you let your posture be at ease, and you're just like not being defensive, and you just allow yourself to be kind of like uh, yelled at, you know, whatever. You know, you just take it, and you're like, hey, I'm just working with a mortgage company. They asked me to do this stuff for them, and I understand what you're going through is really hard, and I wish you didn't have to go through it. Um, and I wish I could do more to help you, but unfortunately, this is my job, and that kind of sucks. So I'm sorry, though. And then if you talk calmly to them and kind of just make peace and have your body language such that it's non-aggressive and non-defensive. Don't put up a like, oh my gosh, they're attacking me kind of um, posture, because then they see you as someone who has to be defensive and someone who is probably on the wrong side,
Mhm.
someone who's not open enough to become to form a relationship with, to uh, fix that generalization. So
Mhm.
um, yeah, it's important to, like Joe was saying, give people that grace. Give people the time of day to learn who you are. And the best way for people to learn who you are is when you're being your best. And you being your best is just complimenting them. Point out the good things about another person whenever you can see that. Remain calm. And most of the time, people will absolutely change their perspective of you. Like, like I said, I have long hair. People immediately think certain things about me. But then when I get into a conversation with somebody, they they throw away all those generalizations and they start to see that I'm a real person. And that's really cool. It's really cool to see people like shift and their minds go from like, I think you're this, to be like, oh, I want to get to know you more. You're a really nice person. I like being around you. It's completely different, and you are just as capable of that, um, Akil, as I am. So when you're in a situation where people are generalizing you, you can't stop that from people who don't know you. But the
Mhm.
more people you get to know, the more people you allow to get to know you, and you will remain yourself open. Because I understand it can be scary when there's some people who have stabbed you in the back before. But if you don't allow people to get to know you, they will generalize you, right? And even your old friends might generalize you. And sometimes there's nothing you can do about that. Um, I think we talked about this on an earlier stream, but one of the like only places Jesus could not convert was his hometown,
Mm.
because they had beliefs about him. They had generalizations about him. They're like, well, we know that guy, and
Mhm.
he's this way, you know, and so that's just kind of how it is. Um,
So if
so
Jesus is going to have trouble with that, what's that mean for us?
right, yeah, exactly. So don't worry about trying to get everyone on the same page as you, because that's not possible. But what you can do is be open, non-transparent. Just allow people to see you as you are, and hope that that helps them to see who you are. You can't force people to see. You can't force people to look into you, to reframe their mind to say, "Oh, who is this person really on the inside?" You can't force people to do that. All you can do is remain open and allow that to happen where it can. Um, so don't sweat it. Don't sweat it. Don't sweat it when people aren't paying attention. Don't sweat it when people are just being stubborn and they're not even listening to you and they think that you're one thing that you're not, right? That happens. Don't sweat it. Just be like, okay, that's how that's going to be. And you know what? I wasn't meant to change their opinion, I guess.
Mm.
I can go on to some other people, and when they're ready to come around, cool. Until then, I'll just be kind. I'll be patient with them and hope that one day they will be ready, but they might never. Oh well.
Mhm.
Um, and then lastly, uh, you said, what can you do when you're well, okay, actually I did that one. What can you do when your allies going against your original shared purpose? Yeah, you just have to be patient. And sometimes they will never see your way,
Mm.
because their mind has been changed. Um, you know, whether for better or for worse, their mind has been changed since their youth, and it might be very difficult that for that person to change again. Um, and a lot of that is up to them. Honestly, we have the most effect on people when we hang out with them,
Mm.
right? If you're around people, they start to pick up on your beliefs and your understandings of the world, your perspectives. So if you just hang out with people, sometimes that's the best you can do. But if you don't have time for that, then there's not much you can do. You can pray for them, I guess.
Mhm.
Um, but okay, so how can we handle people that went back to fall into their darker days? I think mostly just pretty much everything Joe was talking about. Um, and again, just be around them,
Mhm.
lift them up, lift their spirits up. A lot of times when people fall back into their darker days, they know that they're doing it and they are not proud of it. Um, but when it's something that they're justifying, like you will see a lot of times, especially on the news and things like this, where people make a big scene or do some really bad stuff, right? And they purposefully make it known that they're the ones that did it because they have a point to prove, right?
Right.
And they want the world to know that they're proving this point. When their minds become like that, they've shut out the world. That's pretty much like there's almost no way you can get through to them other than becoming their friend. Because unless you have a relationship that can maneuver through that maze of walls that they've put up, they are going to assume you're the enemy, no matter who you are, unless they're already your friend. So, the only way to help people who have gotten to a point where they're just trying to prove points and they are willing to do harm to other people to prove that point, the only way, because everybody else is going to be their enemy, the only way to get through to them is to become their friend, to form a relationship that they respect you, and then you have an impact on them through that. And hopefully you can do that. But again, you don't get to pick who shuts you out and who opens the door to you. All you can do is try. So, um, but yeah, I'm gonna turn it back over to Joe, so that we can have some real wisdom. Um,
Man, there was real wisdom just that whole last little bit right
yeah,
there. That was the real wisdom of the
yeah,
night.
go shut your mouth. Okay.
I did want to respond to a couple of your posts here in the chat, Akil. One specifically that sounds like you've lost your voice and your hearing also some. So it says it's getting harder these days. I've been really jumpy over my missing hearing lately. I became more stubborn in a bad way. And so yeah, losing both my voice and reason to listen made me do things of the opposite effect. I clench my fist a lot more often lately. I can totally understand your frustration when things when things go a certain way and we're impacted negatively. Maybe in your case you've lost your voice or you lost your ability to hear. I don't know if I imagine not completely because you're listening to the stream unless somebody is transcribing it or closed captioning it or something for us. But yeah, one thing one thing you can do is in order to handle that, it really takes a shift in perspective, and that's not always easy. Um, I recently have been through some massive expenses. My wife recently had surgery, and so we have a pretty high insurance deductible, and so we're saddled with a lot of the expenses from the leading up appointments and then the surgery itself, and it was just ridiculous. And there's a saying that that I've learned recently, and that is, can't change it. That's something to tell yourself. Like, if you're faced with something and you're in it and it's happened, like, maybe you're there, and maybe you're there to learn something. I always have to remember that, because sometimes the biggest challenges that I face are the ones that teach me the greatest lessons. And I'm like, what am I supposed to learn from this event right here? And maybe it's better management of funds for unexpected occurrences. Maybe it's a detachment from money. I'm feeling very detached from all my money right now, as a matter of fact. So, maybe there's some things there that I needed to learn. And sometimes we get hit with these challenges, and it's God's way of saying, hey, I need you to learn something here. And so sometimes you got to look out and be on the lookout for the lesson, and then say to yourself, okay, well, I can't change this right now. I can't change the fact that this happened to me, because you can't. It's already done. You can't change it. So then the task is, all right, how can I take this situation and improve it in any way? And always step number one is you can improve your attitude. You always have a choice over your attitude. And even if we don't think we do, because we've made a habit out of choosing a poor attitude, it was still a choice, even if we made the choice at the subconscious level out of habit. It was still a choice. And we still can, all right, I can't change it. Now what? Now I can make peace with the situation, be like, okay, here I am. I'm here. I can't change it. Now it's all about making it better in any way possible. And then you can get creative and do that. So I didn't want to speak to that. The mind blocks out voices of the people I don't want to listen to, like the man I walloped in the restaurant. Ouch.
Oh my.
But yeah, I know that. We have selective hearing. That generally tends to be more of a male trait. I find.
I don't know. I've never been a female, but
I've not, but most of the girls I know don't have as much of a problem. I mean, even my young boys, like, they get focused on something, and it's like, hey.
Yeah. No, that is very common of the male species. We get very zoned into something, and then we can't see anything on the outside, which means we do a really good job at working at something, and we're pretty bad at multitasking.
Yes. Yes.
It's kind of just how we are programmed.
Yeah, I heard a saying recently. Some call it multitasking. I call it doing something else while I try to remember what I was doing in the first place.
That is true. That is also true. I hear that complaint all the time, especially from my mom. She's like, yeah.
Well, and my martial arts instructor. Oh, sorry.
Anyway, go for it. And your martial arts instructor.
My martial arts instructor says there's no such thing as multitasking. There's only switch tasking. So, like, you just switch from one task to the other, and you've got all these things that you're doing, and you're just switching between them,
Got it. I think that there's some degree of multitasking. Like, you can start the dishwasher and do something else and come back to it later, and it does its thing. You can have your coffee machine make coffee for you while you go do something else, and then come back and get it later. So there's that kind, but yeah, he's got a good point. A lot of times we're just switching from one thing to another, and that kind of breaks up our focus.
Mhm.
Either way, that's not what our conversation's about.
Right. Well, Akil says here, it was new for me because I used to like to take in the environment. That's really great. Like if you can just sit back and like absorb everything going on around you, that seems like it would be a very useful skill.
Right. I think he's saying he's having trouble doing that now. So if you're having trouble doing that, I could recommend maybe there's an issue of peace. Like it's hard to just kind of sit back and take everything in when your mind is going 100 million miles an hour, right? It's hard to just sit back and take everything in when you've got stressful issues weighing on your mind. So a couple of things that might help. Try to drink things that don't have caffeine in it, because that causes our minds to spin like crazy, and it does block things out, because it makes our mind hyper focus on like things, and yeah, it's weird. But anyways, try to drink things that are not energy drinks or have things that don't have caffeine in it. That should help a little bit. And the other thing is to when you're in a crowd and you want to just take things in, right? Try to be at ease with anything that you have going on in the back of your mind. Just say, like, if you have that thought that's spinning around, just say, oh, wait. I'll do that later. This is not the time for that. I can't even get to that right now anyways. So just be quiet and, enjoy where I'm at. Hopefully that can help. I don't know. Those are my two bits on that.
Nice. I once met a girl who her thing was dressing up as a Santa elf, playing the guitar and skateboarding all at the same time.
Wow. Nice.
So like skateboarding while playing a guitar in a Santa elf suit. Like that was her thing. I was like, wow, that is very unique. And
that's a very specific talent.
Yes. Yes, it was cool. So Akil, hopefully some of that's helpful for you. And yeah, it was a while since you posted that. It was over a month ago.
Yeah.
But I know we've handled some other ones of yours since then, because at your request. But I really appreciate you posting, and I hope that your voice and your hearing get better, and that you get all back to normal soon.
I think we've spent quite a long enough time on that one. We should probably move on.
Yeah, so let's see. So we've got Knox, Amira, Snowlock. Snowlock, are you still here? I saw you here at one point. We also have Master Lay. Master Lay, I know you're here. And then Deku and Rose. I've not seen Rose yet. That would be CJ Rose, I believe.
Yes.
So Snowlock. Oh, Snowlock is here. All right.
Okay, cool.
So Snowlock. Let's see. Snowlock Holmes.
Run fast and knit a scarf at the same time. So, wow.
That's quite a skill.
That's an interesting, also a very unique and specific skill set.
I would be really afraid to do that.
Yeah, like what if you fall?
Knitting needles and stuff. And
yeah. That's a quick way to get a flesh wound.
Yes. So all right. So this one comes from Snowlock Holmes. I just posted the link there in the chat, so you guys can read along. And yes, Snowlock says it's called "Love to Help, Not Right Now," and it says, "Hello, it's your fake detective, Snowlock Holmes."
Nice.
Now, unlike the name suggests, I'm not a detective. Surprising, I know, right? I'm a high school student who aspires to be in the arts. I would like to thank and send love to Joe and Ryan for helping me learn the importance of being able to push myself to improve and the importance of networking. Thank you for your thanks. It's much appreciated.
We love you.
I'm glad that we've been able to help. I've took it to consideration and did some digging. Nothing significant yet, but I've over the last few weeks, I've been doing 2-hour sketches at home, and I snuck an hour of sketching while sitting in class.
Oh, I used to
I
do that.
forgot to mention this, but I want to say Ryan's
Oh,
visual artist, is actually one of the artists I look up to. My other favorite artist is Jordan Grimmer.
hmm.
Now that's over with, it seems as though a new challenge appears: depression.
Hmm.
Not mine, but my friends. It seems that due to my luck, I'm surrounded with those who come to me with their problems, which is flattering, and I'm more than happy to help. I feel as though I'm losing my own time watching over my friend who is in the worst shape right now. Now, I did say, due to my luck, I'm surrounded with those who come to me with their problem, which means yes, it's not the first time. Well, this might come across as me being a heartless friend. I assure you, I do not want my friend to hurt himself or go through this alone. Before I go any further, let me tell you why I worry so much. This might come off as a rant. As the youngest child who lives solely with his siblings and parents who aren't present, I'm in charge of house duties while my siblings are working hard in college and at their workplace. Of course, I get it. I'm a high school student with plenty of time on my hands compared to them who are full grown adults trying to work hard for the family and everything. I'm the most fit to be in charge of cleaning the house. However, it means that I'm always struggling to manage time. Additionally, being in charge of keeping my friend sane is to make sure that every time I get a message, I must respond properly, letting them know I'm here for them. But on another hand, I'm not always in the mood for it. I feel as though I can never rest in peace for one day. There's always something I'm harassed to do, even when it's the weekends, my day off. Sorry if I'm going on and on about myself so much, but I want to let my friend know that I'm busy without them getting any wrong ideas that maybe I'm sick of them or something. During one of our text conversations where I tried to cheer him up, he says, "I don't blame you if you had just left me deal just let left and let me deal with this by myself and try not to do anything dumb," which makes me feel selfish for even putting this post up in the first place. But at the end of the day, I want to know, how should I tell my friend who needs help the most that I'm not always here, that I'm struggling myself without having it come across as half-hearted?
Hmm.
That is a great question, and I thank you so much for posting, Snowlock. Um, so that, yeah, and also, I admire you that you're willing to be there for your friend, even though it's hard and you've got a lot of stuff going on and a whole life of stuff going on, that you want to make sure that your friend is taken care of. I think I really admire you for that. So Ryan, you want to start us off with this?
Sure. Yeah, thanks, Snowlock. Appreciate this, um, and I really appreciate you just kind of um, putting more good into the world by you being you and helping the people out that you do. Um, it's pretty cool when you get to be the person that people go to for help. Um, they trust your opinion or trust your thoughts, or sometimes you're gonna tell them stuff. Actually, most of the time, by the way, most of the time you're gonna tell them stuff, and they're gonna do none of it. They just wanted to get their thoughts out onto you, and they were asking for advice not because they really wanted it, but because there was a chance you might say what they wanted to hear. Um, but that's how things are. But anyways, it's really cool that you get to be that person because that says a lot about who you are in your community, and that's so cool.
Hmm.
Um, so um, you know, I can totally relate. There are definitely times where I've been in a situation where I have to help somebody out, and devote hours and hours and hours of time to them every single day.
Hmm.
um, or maybe throughout a week, just just spending time with them because they're depressed, trying to help them through whatever they're going through, trying to get them to see the good inside of them and help them out of their hole, right? I've been in that situation, and I've been in the situation where it's like it gets to a point where you um, have given so much time and it feels like hopeless, and you almost just kind of feel like you want to stop, but at the same time you know you don't want to, you want to continue helping them. And then I've also been in the situation where you don't have time. You just don't. Um, and they're begging for you. They're like maybe implying that they think that you're avoiding them, when in reality, you just don't, you have other things you need to do. Um, you know, when that's the case, the best thing you can do on that last one, is try to have that conversation with them. And I know that can be really hard because how do you put something in a way that will not come across as, to them, you're saying it because you want to avoid them? Because here's the thing, right? Somebody who's depressed is oftentimes assuming the worst or the most negative thing always. So as soon as you say, "Hey, I'm sorry, I don't have time to do that right now," they immediately think, I wonder if that person is saying that because they don't want to be around me and they're lying about it and they just don't want to be around me. Or they would rather do that than be around me. All of those things, right? All of those things immediately pop into their head. Um, and you know what? You can't get around that.
Mhm.
But here's something that's important to remember always. Always remember this. You are not responsible for their happiness. They are. Everything you do to help them is above and beyond your responsibility. So what I'm saying here is not that you shouldn't help them, of course. What I'm saying here is that you should not ever feel guilt. Don't allow yourself to feel guilty, even if they say something that tries to make you feel guilty. Don't allow yourself to feel guilty if they're not getting better. Okay? Because that's not up to you. You don't get to decide that, right? Um, there are going to be many times where you're going to try to help somebody and it doesn't help them. That doesn't make you guilty. There are going to be many times where you want to help someone, but you don't have the time for it because you're tied up. Don't feel guilty. Um, because that guilt isn't going to make you a better person and it's not going to do anything for that other person, right? Um, so don't, sometimes we feel guilt and that guilt is our enemy. Sometimes we feel guilt and that guilt is there to set us straight and make us do things better. But occasionally, in fact, a lot of times, that guilt sits there and makes us feel terrible and does nothing but that. And if you sometimes you have to kind of step back and whenever you feel that guilt, you have to take a step back and say, okay, what kind of guilt is this? Is this the guilt that makes me a better person? A type of guilt that is helping me grow? Or is this the type of guilt that's keeping me from my happiness? That's keeping me from God? That's keeping me from, because sometimes, here's the thing, sometimes we feel that guilt and then we just kind of shut down, right? Sometimes we feel that guilt and we're like stuck in a rut because of it.
Mhm.
And we don't know how to get out and we don't want to get out. We're just like, yeah, I am a terrible person and I'm just here being a terrible person and there's nothing I can do. And then you get into that phase and that stinks. So if you ever feel that, definitely get out of there as fast as possible. um, because there's so many things in life that you can't control. And one of those things, especially, is other people.
Mhm.
We don't want to control other people, right? We want them to be them. And that's what makes them awesome. Um, so when it comes to other people, sometimes you just don't have time. And that is okay. All right. That is okay. Now, when you can make time, that doesn't mean to always make the excuse, I don't have time. I don't have time. I don't have time. Right. We have to find time. We have to find time to we have to make time for other people. That's important for friendships. That's important for any relationship. But there will be times where you can do nothing. There will be many times where you can do nothing to help somebody, and many times where you are tied up and you can't do something because you have other obligations. Um, so just remember that you are not responsible for that other person.
Mhm.
Um, so I just want to kind of say that so that you don't get yourself into a rut and you understand that it's okay that you don't have time. That's pretty normal and that's pretty all right. You've got other things in life that are important. Um, So anyhow, how can you relay to your friend that you are busy without making them feel like you are just trying to avoid them? And I think the best way to do that is to have an honest, sincere conversation with them
Mhm.
and tell them, because you've got two options, right? You can tell them this, or sorry, you can tell them this, and they have two options. You can tell them this. You can say, "Hey, I just wanted to say, uh, I'm having a really hard time trying to figure out, um, how to how to manage all my time, and I've got so many things to do. Um, and so I'm really sorry when I can't be there to be around you, because I do like I want to be there with you, but I don't have all the time in the world. And if I had a girlfriend, I wouldn't have time for her either. Like that's just how things are. Um, so you can say something like that to them, right? Then they get to take it one of two ways. They can either say to themselves that you're just trying to avoid them, right? And you know what? Then you're stuck where you already were. You didn't make any progress, but you at least didn't lose progress.
Right.
And the other thing is then they might actually come to understand and say, okay, I get it. I get it. That you can't be around all the time. I don't, sometimes you have to make your disclaimer. Sometimes there are many times actually which I enter a conversation that I know is going to be hard for the other person. I enter it with the disclaimer like, hey, I'm saying this because of blah. Like, I'm saying this because I don't want you to take it the wrong way. Don't take this next thing I'm going to say as I'm trying to avoid you, because in no way do I want to do that. Um, and then go on with your thing. Because by putting that disclaimer out there, you're letting them know, hey, please don't take it this way, because, you know, anybody could take it this way, and I don't want anybody to think that this is why I'm saying this, because I'm not. I'm just having time management issues. I'm trying to figure out how to find time to do everything I need to do. Um, so anyhow, disclaimers are really good conversation starters, um, or at least subject starters. Usually, when you enter a conversation, you want to enter it light. Whenever I have something important I want to tell somebody that I know that is maybe could be negative or could be hard to deal with, um, I usually start the conversation off light. Hey, um, you know, talk about anything, like an anime you watched recently, or ask them about, like, hey, like, seriously, it can be anything absolutely random, because it doesn't matter. You guys are friends, right? This is what I would do. I'd be like, hey, what kind of donut's your favorite kind of donut? And then it's like, that's a conversation starter, isn't it? It is. It's weird. It's light. It's easy. Um, and it's not offensive, right? And then you get into talk about food for a little bit, and then you switch the conversation over. You're like, oh, hey, actually, I wanted to talk to you about something. Now, don't think I'm trying to like avoid you or anything, because I'm totally not. But I'm having a lot of hard times like managing my time because I've got all this stuff to do. What do you think I should do? You could honestly ask them that. And you know what? If you ask them what you think, or sorry, ask them what they think you should do, how you should approach everything you have on your plate, you know what that's going to do? That's going to make them feel like you trust them. That's
Mm.
going to raise their confidence level in themselves. That's going to make them feel like their input is valuable. Their thoughts are valid. And you know what? That's the best thing you can do for somebody in that position. You put your problem on their plate, and you say, "Hey, like, I'm not trying to avoid you or anything, but I have these time management issues. Like, can you help me? Like, what do you think I should do?" You know, Suddenly they're like, oh, let's see. Suddenly they're not going to be thinking you're trying to avoid them. They're just thinking, okay, so they're really busy. Okay, how do we solve that? And they're going to try to like figure it out with you. Um, and now it's no longer an issue of like, oh, they're just saying that because they want to avoid me. No, how could you come to that conclusion? Oh, they're just asking me how to manage time because they're trying to avoid me. Like, that would be ridiculous. It's possible. It's possible. They could come to that conclusion still. But It's going to be very less likely when you are putting your problems in their hands, because it means to them that you trust them.
Mm.
And it means to them that that their opinions are important to you. And that's, again, one of the best things you can do for somebody who's depressed, is let them know that they're human and you value them, um, in those ways that they are different, that they are unique, and the opinions that they have that are specific to them, things like that. So I know I said a lot. Hopefully that can be helpful. And
Mhm.
I want to hand it over to Joe.
Yeah. I'm really glad that you started with all that, Ryan, because that was some really good practical advice. And I'm also really glad that Science Rocks is here, because there's some really good stuff coming from Science Rocks in the chat. Science, are you still a psychology major? Because
He's right.
because I think that pay attention to what Science Rock says in there. He really knows what he's talking about. One book that might help you in this whole situation is a book called How to Have Confidence and Power in Dealing with People by Les Giblin. I know I've mentioned this book a zillion times, but it really teaches human nature, and it might really help give you a perspective on how to handle your friend. Now, I don't know, with all the stuff you have going on, with wanting to do art and also having to do the housework and then go to school and do all the things you have. I don't know if you have extracurricular activities as well. But all that's a full plate. And for all that you're doing, if you don't have time to read that book, I don't blame you for that. One thing you might be able to do is get on Audible and get the audiobook.
And listen to it while you draw.
Listen to it, yep, while you draw or while you do housework or whatever. Just put some headphones in and you can listen to it. But one thing that I thought of, well, there's a couple things. One thing that you can do, you're not always going to be available for your friend. There are just going to be times when you're not there. And so how do you prop them up for when they're not there? And it got me thinking, and I just did a quick Google search, and I found a crisis text line. I see that you mentioned in the chat that one of the ways that you communicate with your friend about all this stuff is through text messaging. So it's kind of like one of the main mediums for how you guys discuss these things. There's actually a number for a crisis text line. If you just text the word connect to 741-741 if you're in the United States, then an actual trained counselor will text you back, and you can have a conversation that will help get you out of, if you're in a crisis depression moment or something like that. Now, disclaimer, I have not used this number before, so I don't know how legit it is. But
I have
this
heard
is just
people use them and be very satisfied with the results.
you have.
I don't know
Okay.
about this particular number, but I have heard of people using them. I know some people who have used them and been very satisfied
Mhm.
with what happened from there. So
Right. So if this is like real legit depression and some real stuff, Science Rock said sometimes, they might need a professional therapist, and they might need to be steered in that direction, and understand that it's not a bad thing to speak to a therapist. I mean, man, so many people speak to therapists. I do, or I did for a long time. I don't really have time to be upset about stuff anymore. But
busy.
yeah, but at the same time, I've been through a time when I was really, really in crisis mode, and I had to seek professional therapy, and it helped me so much to get back on track. And I would tell anybody, if you're really having a problem, do not shy away from a professional therapist, because they're trained, they know what they're doing, they might be able to handle you in a way that you never even thought of before. And I remember that was the case with my therapist, that I had just never ever thought of some of the ideas that he posed to me. I had been brought up to think a certain way, and the way that was moving after I graduated high school and went into college, and all these things were changing, and there was a big, huge disconnect. And then when I went to therapy, he kind of straightened all that out and said, look, it's okay. And you're going to be okay, even if you take any one of these numerous paths that you're faced with. And the peace that came from that was incredible. Snowlock says, I want him to get professional help, but I don't know how I should tell him this. That's really an interesting thing. And it might not necessarily be your job to tell him that. Sometimes we have to seek it out ourselves. And that's why I recommended also the crisis text line, or some kind of hotline like that, where they're actually speaking to someone who's trained. Because one thing, here's something that you personally can do, and this could help you in a lot of different ways, not only with your friend, but also with your full plate of tasks that you have to do. And that is change your schedule so you go to bed early and get up early. I don't know. Well, I guess I don't know. Maybe you do that already, but I know most people don't. Most people don't get up at 4 o'clock in the morning. More people stay up until 4 o'clock in the morning than get up at 4 o'clock in the morning.
Probably.
And you might, when I say that, I know when I was in high school, if somebody said that to me, alarm bells would go off in my brain, and I would be like, no way.
That sounds like a recipe for disaster, or at least
Yeah.
I don't like it.
And I see Joseph Bohan down there. Hey, Joe. Yeah, 4 a.m. baby, because him and I were filming a show, recording a show this morning at 5. So yeah, so we had to get up early. But at any rate, here's a couple things that will happen as a result of you getting up earlier. One, more likely than not, you will be more productive, you will get more things done, and you will have more time to do art. I know that totally happened for me. When I switched my schedule from staying up late to getting up early, I got so much more done, and I was happier. Because my first victory of the day was getting out of bed. And I was like, oh my gosh, like I actually did it. That's crazy. And so I was excited about that. And then I was more productive. So I got more done, and I was like, wow, this is actually working really good. Here's another thing. There was a study done on the most successful people in the world, like millionaires and billionaires, and every single one of them was an early riser. None of them was a late sleeper, not one. And I was like, oh my gosh. So that puts you in good company for, successful in that world. And here's another thing. If you mention to your friend that, because of all the stuff you got to do, you got to change your schedule, you're going to try to get more done. And to do that, you're going to get up earlier, right? So that means you're going to have to go to bed earlier. And I don't know, a lot of times when I was going through depression, I stayed up so late and then slept in really late as well. So like that was how it was. And I stayed up and all kinds of stuff. And I can imagine maybe some of these texting sessions you're having are really, really late at night. So if that's the case, you can tell your friend, hey, I'd be happy to talk to you, but my schedule's got to change some because I got to get all this stuff done. And the only way I can think to do it is to get up earlier and do it before school. So I'm going to be going to bed early, so I won't be available at night. But if you really want to get a hold of me in the morning, you're more than welcome to do that. And here's the thing that will probably happen. If they really, really want to talk to you and they decide to get up early in the morning so that they're awake when you're available, they will feel better about themselves and better about their life because they're getting up earlier.
That's probably true.
And it may help them in a lot of ways. So like that. Now, as I said before, you might be sitting there saying, no way, I'm a night person, because that would have been me totally. But when I learned the benefits of doing it, it was like every morning now when 4 a.m. comes along, it's like it feels like Christmas, because I'm like, oh my gosh, you know how Christmas morning you're excited to get up, or when you're going on vacation, you're excited to get up. It's like that now, because I've made it a habit, and because I know that I get more done, and because I know that, I feel better about my day when I do it. It's like Christmas. So anyway, those are the little points that I would add. But other than that,
Yeah.
what's that?
Sherlock Holmes has a question for you. How
Oh,
early
okay.
do I sleep? I come home at 7 p.m. usually after I leave campus for my art program.
What? Where?
Oh, it's just the last.
Oh, okay. I was scrolling up to find it. I'm like, where is it? Okay. How early should I sleep? I come home at 7 p.m. usually after I leave campus for an art program. All right. So it depends. Now you're in high school, so I wouldn't necessarily skimp much on sleeping. I have trained myself to live on less sleep. That could work to my detriment or to my advantage. I'm not sure yet. Time will tell.
We'll find out if you die. Hey, you got more done
Yep.
in years than anybody else did. In the years you would have had if you didn't. It doesn't matter.
Right. But all of our bodies need different amounts of sleep. So if you are I would recommend seeing if you could set your alarm for 4 a.m. So you'd have a couple hours before you got to get ready for school. And depending on how much sleep you need, if you're an 8-hour a night sleeper, and that's how much your body needs, then that means, like, as soon as you get out of you go home from campus, maybe you grab a quick small bite to eat or something, and then go to bed. And then the cool thing is all of that stuff that you would normally do at night, like homework and all that kind of stuff, you can do before school the next day, and you'll feel more fresh when you're doing it early on in the day. So
yeah, that's true, because your mind's not worn out. Your mind is refreshed, re-energized, accumulated with the chemicals it needs for the day. And so when you start your day, that's when your mind is usually about at its peak.
Yep. So that's something you can try. I'm not saying you have to do this, but it's definitely something to think about. Now, personally, I go to bed between 11:30 and 12, and I get up at 4. So, and I'm working like I used to. What's that?
Joe is hardcore.
I'm hardcore, man. And for a while, I tried to train myself to live off of 3 hours of sleep, and that turned out really badly. After a few weeks of doing that, I had some really weird experiences. But but
You praised that.
yeah, but Jesse sleeps for 10 hours or he suffers. Yes, yeah, it's amazing. But it's weird. Like so then I found a magic time of 4.5 hours. I was like, all right, 4.5 hours. And then here's the crazy thing: as I've done this for longer, now it's like scaling backwards. Like now I feel kind of groggy if I get up in 4.5 hours, but I feel better if I get up in 4.
Yeah.
So it's weird. So Keaton says, usually I sleep around 3-ish, wake at 6:30. Sometimes I can grab a 2-hour nap. Wow.
Yeah, Keaton's pretty impressive there. I've witnessed that a few times.
Wow.
If I stay awake for like 40 hours, when I go to sleep, I'll wake up in like 3 hours or something, and I'll be like, yeah, I'm ready to go. Let's do it. And I'm like, wait a minute, Ryan, no, you just were up for like 30 hours. Go to sleep.
Yeah.
For 40 hours or whatever it was. Yeah.
Well, it was amazing. I remember one time going to meet with Ryan. We were working on some video work, and I went up to meet with him, and we were working on stuff. And he's like, "Yeah, well, I've been up since yesterday at whatever time." And I'm like, "Dude, that's like 30 hours." and we're gonna work all day. Like I was just getting there. Like
Yeah, that's right.
he's like, yeah, you want some coffee? I'm like, yep, and so do you.
Yeah. But then at the end of the day, when we were done working, I was like, man, I am tired. I am
Yeah.
pooped. Starting to
Yep.
zone out.
Well, anyway, yeah, that's something to try, Snowlock, and that's awesome. All right, I set up my alarm. It has Ryan's song as the alarm. Yes, it's always great to wake up to Ryan's stuff.
Oh, thanks.
Life might take us.
Mm.
So, yeah, that's definitely worth a shot. And if you're anything like me, you'll discover, whoa, you after you do it for a while, you'll be like, I gotta be getting up early. It's just a way better way to live, I think. But anyway, I
Nice.
digress. Thanks, Snowlock.
Yeah, thanks for the question. And it's really cool we got to talk on a couple different subjects there.
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully that all of that can be helpful to you. But I think to kind of talk about, or to sum everything up, sleep schedule, I think that's super important for time management.
Mm-hmm.
Also, when it comes to dealing with your friend, remember that you're not responsible, so don't get emotional feedback. Don't base your emotions on their feedback. Don't
Mm-hmm.
base your
Yes.
emotions on how well they're doing, because that's not up to you and it's not something you're responsible for.
Mm-hmm.
And if you do that, you're just going to get depressed yourself. Because if your emotions are based on them, then you have nowhere to go but down.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately.
Yeah.
So you have to have that emotional um, intelligence, I guess,
Right.
about you. And
But if
then,
you can help them feel accepted and loved, that can
right,
go a long way for someone in that position.
absolutely. I was gonna say the last thing is doing exactly that. When it comes time to talk to them about not being around all the time, ask them about their opinions about time management. And that way you can let them know you don't have a whole lot of time. They can reason with you and go, okay, they probably don't have time right now. They're probably busy. That's why they're not responding. They
Mm-hmm.
get to be on your page while feeling like they're a part of that. And I
Mm-hmm.
think that is probably the best way to go around it, or go through that conversation with them. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, thank you.
The book is how to have confidence and power in dealing with people by Les Giblin. And I can find a link to it here eventually. If you stick around for a few minutes, I'll find a link and I'll post it.
Is this one of the special links?
Yeah, special link
Nice.
because we're Amazon affiliates.
Yeah, because we're Amazon affiliates. So like, if you click the link and you actually buy the book, that's good for us.
Yeah. Yep. They give
But
us like 40 cents or something.
yeah. And what's 40 cents?
Hey.
It's infinitely times more than we would have gotten if we didn't do that.
All right.
0 times anything is still 0.
Oh, there you go, Snowlock. You found it.
Yeah, that's it.
Perfect. All right, so let's move on. Master Lay, are you still here? And Deku, are you still here?
Yeah, Master Lay, Deku. Yeah, we've got a couple of like anonymous ones too, and
Yep.
like, we've got so many right now. It's pretty great.
Yep. So next we've got let's see.
I confirm that Ryan's math checks out. Yeah, technically speaking, 40 is not infinitely more than 0. It's impossibly more times. Because infinite gives the idea that you could that at some point you achieve it. Infinitely, it gives the idea that you're increasing incrementally, infinitely, but truthfully, no matter what you go to, you're not actually increasing at all. So it's impossibly more than 0, not necessarily infinitely.
Yep.
You're not getting more close as you go. I'm sorry, that's math stuff.
That's mathed up.
And Ryan math is weird. It's weirder. It's weirder, like English. It's more weird than other people's maths because Ryan understands math differently than most people. It doesn't
But
mean he's
math is a wonderful thing.
oh. Yes, it is.
Math is a really cool thing. Science Rocks is here. All right. Science, you are next in line then. Because we don't have Aaron. Aaron, are you still here? CJ
Aaron.
Rose, I know you haven't been here. Aaron, I saw you here earlier.
Yeah, we saw Lay earlier, Deku, Aaron, all three of those guys. If you
Yep.
guys are here, you just say it and we'll go to you. But it looks like we're gonna have to go to science first.
Yep, we will do so joyfully because science rocks. So if I want to say you rock, science rocks, do I say science rocks?
Kay knows the song you're singing.
Who does? Yes, Kay. Thank you.
Kay knows the song you're singing.
3 minus 4 is -1. That's right.
-1.
And 6 times a billion is nailed it.
Nailed it. That's awesome. We're doing great, guys.
Yeah. All right. Where is sciences? Is that in here? Did I miss it? There it is. Okay. Yes, Kendra, you are in the queue. And wow, hey, science, Keaton responded to your post. So that's awesome. This is It's Hard to Be Good by Science Rocks. And here's the link.
Yeah, actually Keaton responded only an hour ago, so it's not likely you've seen it. If you have seen it, awesome. But if you haven't seen it, go there, check it out, because she is a wonderfully wise woman who is a huge, gigantic heart. And
yes,
everything she writes is solid gold. So just
read
it, but appreciate it for its beauty.
I agree with all of that. So all right, so Science Rocks. It's hard to be good. And it says, I'm a much better person than I used to be. I used to be extremely insecure, unable to help myself, desperate, clingy, and extremely depressed. Over the past year or two, I've grown stronger. However, I'm not strong enough yet. I still falter and fall and have moments of relapse, but I manage to bounce back because I keep fighting. I'm far more positive, kind, and understanding than I used to be, but I'm not quite there yet. Like with my friend before, I may have seemed somewhat calm and understanding, but before all that, there were my emotions. I'm still emotionally reckless when problems occur. I say mean things and I can get very upset and emotional. Though these little moments are nowhere near as bad as they used to be, they still cause problems, of course. I've gotten enough control to mix in my intentions with my anger most of the time, but that's just not good enough. In fact, I wonder if it may even make things worse. I fear that to those who have seen both sides of me and aren't very close to me, I may seem unstable or fake, putting on some nice guy mask while really being angry, bitter, and manipulative inside. Who would trust a guy like that? I could snap at the drop of a hat. Who knows what I'm hiding behind all those kind words I say when I can easily get spiteful when things don't go my way. I can let things go easier than before, but when my efforts to do good, specifically with my own problems, get me nowhere, I can't help but get frustrated or even angry for a bit before I go back to being thoughtful and figuring things out. The problem is, I'm just not good enough yet. I don't get angry quite as easily as I used to, but I don't want to get angry before I understand people and their actions. I want to be somebody everybody can love. I want to be someone who can understand where people are coming from without even hesitating. Someone that can always be kind, no matter what, and do the right thing every single time. So why is it so hard for me to act that way? It's as if there's a limit to how well I can understand other people's thoughts and actions. At some point down the line of understanding, it just becomes a mystery to me again, and I don't know how to handle things. And that's from Science Rocks, and that is very, very well written and spoken. That's very good introspection you're going through here. So I really appreciate you posting this, because I think this is a really good internal battle that we all face from time to time in our lives. And because Ryan knows the answer to this way better than I do, and I can see by his living example.
Well,
I'm
thanks for
really excited to hear what he says.
Thanks, Joe. Thanks for putting me on the spot and telling me all the answers, because that's the truth. No, so anyways, yes, just like Joe said, I love this. I love when you can see the introspective of somebody who's posting. And I love this whole post because it's like, it's relatable. Everybody's been here. I think everybody is here in some ways. But it's one of those things where the more you journey down the road of becoming a better person, the more you realize just how hard that is all the time. And you see like, okay, I could have done that better. I could have done that better. I could have done that better. And you just kind of want to be perfect, right? I think everybody wants to be perfect. And there's no, like, I'm going to say right now, that's a good thing. It's good that pretty much everybody wants to be perfect. And the reason I say that is because God is perfection and we want God. And that's why we want perfection. At least for most of us. But the thing is, we're not perfect, right? And the other thing is, we don't have to be. We're not supposed to be. If we were supposed to be perfect, we would be perfect. But if you look at the world around us and how the world is designed, how the world was made, you can see that God put us in the world and said, okay, look, you're not going to be perfect. That's how things are going to be. And it's going to be kind of miserable sometimes. But the beauty in that is that we have the ability to grow. We have the ability as human beings to become better at things. We aren't perfect at anything, and we're not perfect. Yeah, we're not. It's not only that we're not perfect at everything, we're not perfect at like anything at all. And there are certain things in life which are impossible to be perfect at, and that's okay. We're supposed to be good. Here's the thing. If you're worried on a level of guilt or worried on a level of your relationship with God, that sort of thing, and you're like, okay, I'm not perfect, I make all these mistakes. Well, remember this. God doesn't expect you to be perfect. He's just glad that you try. When you see your friends fail at things, right? But you see that they're trying hard, you're proud of them. And in the same way, God is proud of you. So if you're ever worried about how people see you, especially God, just understand that your efforts to become a better person are an incredible thing. And they are worthy of so much more than even perfection, because perfection is not attainable anyways. Not in this state of world that we live in. It's like in many things impossible. There's no way to necessarily be perfect all the time, and especially in things like art or how to have a conversation, how to give advice. It changes constantly. So when instead of chasing perfection, we can only chase, am I being my best? And I think that's what you're trying to do. And I think that's awesome. So first thing is, and this is going to help you. This is going to help you with how to get to the next level, how to become that person you want to be when times are tough, when you have those emotional spats, right? That just come out of nowhere and you're like, dang, I had one again, right? this, I tie all of what I just said into this one thing because they both have the same solution: patience. Um, be patient with yourself.
Mhm.
Um, you have to have, you have to be able to forgive yourself, but you have to be very patient. Um, when you can master patience, you master a lot of times peace. When you are being, when you get thrown into a conflict, right? And then all of a sudden your emotions charge up, right? A lot of times that's because you didn't have patience or peace. But when you get thrown into a conflict and you can see like, oh wow, that's something that could charge my emotions. Let me just kind of step back here and calm myself and think about this clearly. What's the best thing to do here? Rather than getting immediately involved, thinking, okay, what can I do here that will best help everybody calm down and make things right? What's the most good I can do in this scenario? The reason you're able to do that a lot of times is because you're practicing patience, you're practicing peace. So, what I would recommend in all of this is to chase after that virtue, patience. Um, because patience is going to give you that edge. When something bad happens to you, you don't feel like you have to act immediately. You realize, wait, I actually have seconds to think. Like someone comes at you and insults you or says something, right? You don't actually have to react right away. You're allowed to sit there and think for a second. And they might even batter you like, oh, you can't think of what to say, ha ha ha, ha, right? Something like that. Someone's like really on you, really trying to insult you. You can literally just sit there and be like, yeah, this person's kind of being rude. Oh well. Let's see here. What can I do? Yeah, they are making fun of me. Really? Like that doesn't matter. So maybe I'll just be quiet and then like let them walk away. That would be fun. Let's try it. Let's just like be quiet. Maybe I'll just nod their head like, yeah, yeah. What if I just say something weird, like something that has nothing to do with what they just said? Like, let's just be like, let's like try to weird them out. Like, like, are you talking about dinosaurs right now? Because I think you're talking about dinosaurs. I like dinosaurs. Dinosaurs are great. You remember Free Willy? That's not a dinosaur movie. You probably thought it was. I don't know why I thought that up. Anyways, I like Legos too. Have you ever built a Lego dinosaur? Lego dinosaurs are the best. So one time when I was 3, it's just like they're gonna think you're nuts. But the only way you're able to do something that ridiculous is because you've separated yourself out of patience. You've separated yourself from having to deal with the emotions because you don't care. Because you've had the patience to take in what they said, not react, and then just figure out, okay, what do I want to do? Do I want to sound absolutely insane just to see what they do, how they react? Because that's what they're trying to do to me. You know, let's spin it around, except for instead of insulting them, we're just going to make myself look like an insane guy, an insane freak. Maybe they'll laugh. Maybe they'll go to their friends and be like, that guy is insane. That guy's like literally mental. Who cares? That's funny. I don't care. Let them think that. Then when they want to know who I am better, they can actually talk to me and not insult me. And then we can actually get to know each other, right? But at this point, I don't care what they think or what the other people who are their friends think, because what they think doesn't change who I am. Their thoughts are their thoughts and opinions, and they have nothing to do with me. So what do I care what they have to say? Um, if there's ever a conflict, then they can come to me and then they can figure out who I am for real. But until then, their opinions are just immaterial. They're not even real. They don't actually exist in the physical plane. They're just thoughts, and they don't hurt me. And it is what it is. You know, a lot of times you can't change people's opinions unless you actually get a relationship with them. So you can have people, insult you or whatever. I'm not saying that that's what's going on with you, but you could have people insult you, and you can respond almost any way, and it won't change their opinion. There are people like that. So, anyways, try not to worry about what people think of you so much. It's hard to do. I know that even I struggle with worrying about how people think of me. That's everybody struggles with that, I think. But at the same time, it's important to remember it doesn't really matter what people think of me, because that's their thoughts of me, but it's not really who I am.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so it doesn't really change anything. Um, Now, like, for example, if something happened, right, where someone said something really terrible about me, like Static P does this, and it's just some silly thing that didn't happen, but now it's like on the news. I get well known across all of America for being a villain, right? That stinks. And people online have suffered through that. There are
Mm-hmm.
people who are famous now, not because of the amazing things they've done, but because the media exposed them for something they may or may not have even done.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and that's really hard to deal with. And that's kind of what you're talking about here, about your reputation, about how other people see you when you kind of falter at times, right? Because here's the thing, a lot of times people, like the media especially, but even groups of people at schools and so on, as soon as you mess up once, they take that and say, that's who they are.
Yeah.
That angered me, and that's who they are. That's all they are. And it's like, you have not seen the good I've done. You have not seen the hours I've put into my friends, into other people who are not even my friends, into my loved ones, etc. You have not seen the love I've given into the world. All you've seen is one little moment where I slipped up. So what do you do about that? You know what? You can't really do a whole lot. You know who you are.
Right.
One thing you can do is let people open yourself up and allow people to get to know you. I mean, we just talked about this with the Keels, but honestly, that's the only way to fix that is to be open, be transparent and say, "You know what? I did do that, and I'm not proud of that. And I dread that experience. And I wish I hadn't done that, and just like anybody would. And so I'm sorry, and you know what? I'm kind of glad that I had to deal with that, because now I really don't ever want to do that again. But also, now we're here talking. So, we could be friends, make friends with people,
Mm-hmm.
just as it was before, except for now you have a reputation, but everybody's got reputations. Um, so, and the other thing is, the truth comes out eventually. Um, a lot of times you see there are times where you'll hear bad things about an individual, and that's all you'll ever hear, because then the news stops and you don't actually get to know where they went from that point on. But they're
Right.
friends. But here's the thing, if you can be such an amazing person that um, other people notice, then it flips the whole thing around. Then it takes your um, fame and it turns it into, wow, here's a person who did this bad thing, but went on to become this amazing person doing amazing things. And that becomes inspiration for other people to try and get better as people. Um, and so all you can do ever is be your best self, is
Mm-hmm.
try to aim to become the best version of yourself and enact that out in the world and to others around you. And so if that's all you can do anyways, whether people think bad things about you or good things about you, that's all you can do anyways. So it really doesn't matter what they think, because again, a lot of times you can't change that. Um, so you just got to keep on working at that one thing, and eventually that'll come around to you, come around back to you, and people will say, "Wow, you're such an incredible person. You've done this for me, and I appreciate that so much."
Mm-hmm.
And that's going to mean the world to you. It's going to mean a whole lot more than 1,000 people saying, "Oh, I can't believe he did this bad thing." It's going to mean more than, like, if everybody in the world was against you, but this one person said, "Hey, I know who you really are. And you've changed my life, and I
Mm-hmm.
appreciate that." That's going to mean a whole lot more to you than millions of people hating you. Cause
Yeah.
anyhow, carrying on, I'm going to let Joe shed some light on the situation.
Wow. I don't know what I can add. Because wow, go back and listen to that again. Once the stream's over, because there were
Good note.
so many nuggets in there, and not just dinosaur nuggets. But
Dinosaur nugget. Wait, you have those like chicken nuggets, dinosaur shaped?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think Princess talked about it. Yeah, chicken nugget dinosaurs.
yeah. It's great.
um, so, but I would definitely go to your post and read Keaton's response. I read through that at the beginning of Ryan's talk, and oh wow, Keaton, that's a tremendous response. And so if you want a little bit of encouragement, you could just read that every day,
Uh-huh.
and boy, that would probably make your day if you made that part of your routine. But one of the things that I thought was interesting in your post was that you said, I want to be someone everybody can love. And then I want to be someone who can understand people, where people are coming from without even hesitating. So you're
Mm.
talking about being a better person, which is great. And then saying, I want to be someone everybody can love. Now here's the thing to remember. You can become that person that everybody can love. However, it's pretty likely you will not be a person that everybody does love. Because you can think of the most saintly people in
Mhm.
the world.
And people
Like,
hate them.
yeah, let's just put Mother Teresa out there. Who could hate Mother Teresa? She worked with people who the rest of the world thought was untouchable, sick and poor people in in India somewhere that
I don't.
was.
Yeah. She went to India. Yeah,
Uh-huh,
that's it. Actually, the Indians made fun of her and didn't like her, and she's like,
uh-huh,
"I'm gonna go over there and help the sick people over there."
yep,
Isn't
the
that crazy?
sickest, poorest, the people that the rest of the world rejected, and they had nobody else. And she went and served them for her entire life. And she was just vilified all over the place. People hated her. And it was like, what in the heck? Like, how could you hate somebody who does that? But that's the way the world is, you know? We've talked about perfection, and perfection being unattainable, and it is for us. However, being a Christian, there's one person in history that ever was perfect, in the Christian faith, and that was Jesus. And what did they do? They crucified him for it,
Yep.
you know. So no matter how perfect you get, and even though you could be a person that everybody can love, you're still going to draw people that don't like you, and that's just the facts, no matter what. So if you can come to grips with that, it took me a long time to accept that in my brain, that no matter what I do, people are going to hate me, and maybe even people close to me are going to hate me no matter what I do. And so I remember getting to that point finally after I'd been beaten over the head, so long. And I think being an inspector helped because it increased the amount of beatings verbally,
On a
like
daily basis, yeah. Mhm.
it concentrated them like a lot. So it's like, it's like people just hammering me with their words, just And I finally came to grips with the fact, like, you know what? It doesn't matter what I do. People are going to hate me. It doesn't matter how kind hearted I am. It doesn't matter how nice I try to be. It doesn't matter how civil I try to be. It doesn't matter how much I try to think of the other person and their best interests. I'm still going to be hated by people. People are still going to not like me. So you know what? Forget it then. I'm just going to do what I think is right. I'm going to look at every situation and I'm going to think, okay, what's the right thing to do here? And I'm going to do my best to come up with the right answer and then follow through on it. And I fail more times than I'd care to admit because I'm not perfect. So I don't always do the right thing, or I don't always know the right thing. Even after I try and think of the right thing and I think, okay, I think I got it. I think I know the right thing, and I do it, and then I find out later, oh, that didn't work at all. That was the wrong thing. Whoops. Oh well, people hate me. So what? They were going to hate me anyway. All right, whatever. But it's so true that no matter what we do, People are still going to hate us, no matter how good you are.
Yep.
So then, can you become a person that approves of yourself, even with all of your mistakes? And it does truly take self-forgiveness. And that's one thing to get good at. And I know that's not always easy. In fact, most of the time, that's the hardest person to forgive that we will ever face is ourselves. Because we remember all of our little mistakes. And I had such a hard time letting go of my own past mistakes. I know people who are like, oh, hey, I got the wrong answer. Oh, well. And for me, that would be like the end of I'd be like, man, I got the wrong answer. Doggone it, why did I get the wrong answer? And then I'd stew about it for like a week and be upset. And then finally come back and I'd mess something else up. And then I'd be depressed for another week, maybe more, depending on how big it was. And then, and then somebody would react to me because I was down in the dumps, and so I'm like being totally unrelatable because I'm down in the dumps, right? I'm like, I can't believe people don't like me. And so like then people would be rude to me and I'd be like, oh, and then just make the downward spiral even harder. So when I finally got the point that I was like, wait a second, I did some wrong things. So what? So does everybody. Big deal. You know what? We try our best the next time. It's something we learn from and we go and we move forward. And I heard, oh, where did I hear this? I was going through a book. I think it was Secrets of the Millionaire Mind by T. Harv Eker. Book I was just going through, and they said there's no such thing as failure. There's only learning. So like when you do something, you either succeed at it or you learn from it. Sometimes both. But most of the time it's, when you succeed, you didn't really learn anything. When you succeed, you might have learned what it felt like to succeed. But usually you succeed or you get a learning experience. And then when you look at it that way, when you can wrap your head around that, everything is a success because you got something out of it. You got a learning experience. You got some new knowledge. And every time you make a mistake, every time you mess up, it's a learning experience and you got some new knowledge out of it. And yes, Princess by Harv Eker. Yep. And yeah, so that's pretty much all I have to add. So Ryan, do you have anything else?
I don't think so.
Okay.
Thank you for the question though, Science.
Yeah,
And,
Science. Thank you so much.
just be patient with yourself, and continue to work forward. If you've had improvement so far, from where you were in the past to where you are now, keep that up. That's just kind of every road takes a certain amount of time, to travel. And if you've got, dealing with your emotions is not something that's necessarily just easy to be like, oh, man, I'm suddenly different now. It takes some time, and we all make those mistakes where we let our emotions get to us
Mhm.
from time to time. So be patient with yourself. Continue down that road. What you're trying for, to become on top of yourself, always in control of yourself. That's something to be admired and something to be grasped at. That I'm so proud of you for trying to grasp at that.
Mhm.
Because seriously, I think that's one of the main things people struggle with the most in life, not knowing that they even have to do that. That's something they should be striving for. But you striving for it tells me you've already achieved it in a lot of ways, and that you're continuing down that path to achieve it even more so. And then your self control will help you in life immensely in every area. Um, so I think if you're looking for one thing to chase after, I would go after the virtue of patience. And
Mhm.
patience is tried every time you're in a situation where you start to feel impatient, um, or you start to explode.
Yeah.
Then you take that and you be like, wait a minute, this is one of those lessons. Yeah, that's what this is. All right, patience. Be patient. You
Yeah.
know, and if you're doing things that frustrate you, they make you impatient. So, um, if you can put it down, if it's just like it's just like an activity you're doing for fun and it's frustrating you, stop it. That's dumb. I've been there. All right.
Hmm.
Don't do that. Just don't do it anymore. But if it's other people that are frustrating you or something you can't control, then yeah, sometimes you just have to deal with it in the moment and just be like, okay, be patient. Try to figure that out. How do I do that? But anyhow, good luck to you, man. You're
Hmm.
awesome.
Yep. You got this, science, and it's great to see you.
Yeah. We're so happy to have you here.
Hmm. Yep. So moving on to the next one, we got time to do one more.
Yeah, let's do it.
So Lay or Deku, have you returned, or Aaron, or CJ Rose, or Nathan?
Cherry, Kendra, Jojo.
Kendra, I know, is here.
Mm-hmm. I know Kendra's here.
Just saw Kendra.
Cherry is
Cherry
here.
is here also. All right. So Cherry, you've got two. You got Life is Wearing Me Out and Fate and Malice, Second Chances. Okay, you want Fate and Malice. All right.
Okay.
Yeah, Kendra, Cherry's was right before yours. In the
Yeah. Kendra's was May 8th and Cherry's was May 7th.
Yeah. So Kendra, we will likely be able to get to yours on Friday if you can make it to the next stream. So I apologize for not being able to get to it. But we're actually handling ones that are like within the last 24 hours.
Yeah, that's true.
Which is crazy because sometimes we're only handling ones that were submitted like a month ago.
Oh, they were 3 hours apart apparently. You guys.
Yeah.
But oh well.
Nice. Thanks,
Yeah.
Kendra. Thanks for being patient.
It's too bad the other guy left, but that's all right. See him maybe next time. They probably had to sleep or something because it is late. So
It is. I mean, it's not. It's only 9:54.
well, it's late for some people in some parts of the world.
It is. Yep. Yeah, Lay. I can imagine Lay fell asleep. He's it's late for him.
Yeah.
Okay. Kendra says might not be on time on Friday because you work from 11 to 7. That's cool. We probably won't get started until 8 anyway, I would imagine.
Yeah. And I mean, if you miss Friday, well, next Wednesday. If you miss that Wednesday, Friday comes.
Yeah, that's right.
Eventually, we've got some in here that are quite old, for in case they show up. But yeah.
So nice. So all right. Well, this is Cherry's Fate and Malice, Second Chances, and I posted the link in the chat so you guys can read along. And it says, if you aren't familiar with the Fate and Malice series, you can read the previous ones to understand this better. For those who are familiar, you probably remember Tor, Naya, Ender, Puppet, Mary, etc. You may even remember May, who around January to February I regained contact with, and we have become friends again.
Oh, good.
Recently, my mind has been on Tor and Puppet and everyone else from Puppet's server. I just couldn't get over them. Meanwhile, on another server, I got a chance to be in a relationship with someone named Robin. She reminded me so much of Tor. It started back in early April. Over time, I felt as though she was cheating on me, which was the same issue I had with Tor. I constantly feared that she was cheating on me. Then I realized that it all must be God's test to see if I'm ready to be reunited with everyone I've lost. I held on to my fears and drowned them with faith. Well, a prayer later, and suddenly Tor decided to give me a second chance or another chance. Although saying that she refuses to add me to her or Puppet's server. But I think she said that'll change if I can prove to her that I've changed. I feel like this is my chance to have everyone back that I lost. It was only after I lost them that Cherry was created, so they've seen the lost me, but they've never seen Cherry. But of course, I'm as determined as a person can get, so I'm willing to go through anything just to get everyone I lost back. So since I want to be positive while I'm doing this right, what can I do or say to assure them that I've changed my ways? I'm willing to take it step by step. Quote, we are in the end game now. This could be the events that end all my inner conflict if performed correctly. And that is from Cherry.
Hmm. All right. Thanks,
So
Cherry.
Cherry, yeah, thank you, Cherry, very much. And wow, you have certainly been through a lot emotionally through this whole experience. And my thoughts and prayers are with you as you
Mhm.
continue. But Ryan, what do you have to get us started?
Sure. I think it's a very interesting thing. You know, going through this, being given another chance. It's kind of interesting in a couple of different ways. Um, there are definitely people that I have had to work with, and given them chances, or people that Senna on our server has worked with to give them chances to kind of redeem themselves, come back, or go through a process in which they come back to our server, um, ready to handle their obligations, and perform to the standard that we hold, being a child friendly server and that sort of thing. Either way, um, so it's kind of interesting seeing this from the other side. Um, uh, you know, when you want to show somebody that you've changed or someone that you've improved, the only thing you can really do is just show them yourself. And instead of showing them by telling them all the ways you've changed, like, oh, I've done this now and I do this differently and blah blah blah. I used to do this, but now I do this. I think that's a bad way to do it. The best way is to just be you,
Mhm.
because a lot of times, when you are looking at somebody's character and they're telling you with their words who they are, it's very easy to be skeptical. You look at that person, you say, okay, they're trying to show me how good they are. It's kind of like if you go into a job interview, right? If you're in a job interview and like, imagine you're the person being or doing the interviewing, and you're sitting down with somebody who's trying to get a job, and they just tell you, "Oh, I'm good at this," which is exactly what your job is. "I'm good at this," which is what your job is, and I do all of these things which are perfect. I do them all perfectly, by the way. I know how to do this job. You go, "Okay, cool. How much of that is a lie?" You know, because that's what everybody says, by the way. It's like everybody says that. That doesn't really tell me anything. The way you show how good you are at a job is by performing that job and letting them watch you.
Mhm.
That's really the only way. Because I can have someone come up to me, like, let's say I work at Taco Bell or something. I used to work there. Someone was like, "Yeah, I know how to. I like make an excellent taco." It's like, okay, show me. You know, I can't know that's true until you do it. Um, and so the best way to get across to them who you are is to just be that person. Don't tell them who that person is. Just be
Mhm.
that person. Because here's the thing, you're going to be tested, whether they test you or whether you're tested through just the natural way of life, whether you're tested by God in front of them, while you're tested in any way, struggles come. But if you can prove that you overcome those struggles with patience, with kindness, with sincerity, with strength, in all of the ways that you've changed to become a better person, then they can see you. They can see who you are. They can see you amidst those struggles and say, wow, this person is an incredible person. Um, so that's really the best way. The other thing I want to say, though, is don't, um, don't limit your life to this, I could say. If I trying to figure out how to say it. Them testing you to allow you back onto their server or to become friends with them even is kind of strange to me because I would not test somebody to determine whether they are a friend or worthy of being my friend or not. Because in truth, all you can ever do is be someone's friend.
Mm-hmm.
A friendship is really just you being a friend to somebody else and them doing whatever they do and
Mm-hmm.
hoping that that is them because you don't get to pick the other person's action. A lot of times, I love Joe is actually the one that brought this up to me. But as kids, we kind of go to people and say, "Will you be my friend?" But that's really the wrong way to look at it because "Will you be my friend" says like, "Hey, will you like sacrifice yourself for me? Just for me. Like, I'm not gonna do anything in return. Like, this isn't a two-way friendship. This is just you being my friend, and I'm asking that of you." And it's like, whoa, okay, that doesn't sound like friendship to me. Really, friendship is like, hey, I want to be your friend,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm willing to struggle through that with you because you're an important person. You're a
Mm-hmm.
valuable person, and I can see that in you. Um, so it's I would say, no matter how this turns out, because here's the thing, you very well are a different person. You're a stronger person than you were, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know that about you, but they don't. And here's the thing, they might not see it. And that doesn't mean it's not there. Okay. So no matter how this goes, remember that because, like, God could be answering your prayers, getting you in contact with these people in order for you to see that that you don't need them. It could be to give you that chance again to prove to them and make good friends. But as I recall, they're not necessarily perfect either.
Mm-hmm.
Um, which is okay. It's okay to have friends that aren't perfect. I mean, we all do because we're all imperfect. But um, you don't need to be perfect to be their friend. And in fact, friendship that's kind of the big part of it is that you're not perfect and they're not perfect either, but you're friends with them regardless. And you want to be there for them when they are suffering through that imperfection, you know? Um, you want to be there to help them through their issues and become stronger. And I'm glad Tor is reaching out to you um, to maybe be a part of you again and be a part of um, life and be a friend who wants to help you and have you help them to actually have a relationship where you're both growing to become better people together. Right. I think that's awesome if that's what they're trying to do. Which I'm sure it is. If they've reached out and they've given you a chance, I'm sure I mean, you don't give chance to strangers just to pull it away from them. I think that they're being very honest. But yeah, if it doesn't work out, right? If Tor doesn't, or if Puppet, whatever, doesn't accept you back into their server or their group of friends, right? That doesn't mean that you weren't good enough. It means they weren't good enough.
Mm.
Does that make sense? Because if they're good enough, they can handle you, even if you're just at your worst. But the truth is, you are better. And so it really, like, handling you isn't that big of a deal, right? But we all have to handle each other anyways. But if they're not good enough to be a friend, then that's on them. That's not you.
Mm-hmm.
If someone, um, like if someone, I don't know, is like, hey, I'll be your friend if you meet my standards, right? That's all right. Like that's understandable. Sometimes you have to do that with certain people. But at the same time, those standards that you set there are because you're afraid. You're not strong enough to overcome the tribulations you have to deal with that person. And so ultimately, it actually reflects back onto you saying, hey, you're not good enough yet to handle this kind of person, right? And if that person is already an amazing person like you, Cherry, then that kind of it's kind of like, wow, you're not even able to handle that amazing person, you know? Well, that's the thing. Like, it's kind of a silly thing to like, in some regards it makes sense. In some regards it makes sense, but in others it doesn't. So like, you know, limiting your friends or limiting who you allow on your server, etc. Like, it makes sense. But to be a friend, like, I can be friends with people who swear, right, all the time, but those people are not on my server because they swear, and that's not. I mean, my server is specifically meant to be child friendly, where you don't swear. So I have to ban people. You know, I don't usually do it. Other people do it for me, but regardless, um, we have to ban people because they're swearing. It's like, you just keep on doing it. We give them chances, and we're like, hey, oh, by the way, that's a rule here. You can't do that. And then they're like, whoa, that's a rule? Well, I'm just gonna say it over and over and over and over again. It's like, well, okay, it doesn't mean I can't be their friend, right? You know, but it doesn't mean I can't be their friend. In fact, there are many times where I've seen these people where they're having a hard time making friends on the server. They get banned or whatever, and I go out and I reach out to them, and we have good conversations together, and we're kind to each other, and everything's fine. And it's not because they're bad people that they aren't on my server, right? It's just because it's not because they aren't good enough to be friends with, right? Everybody's good enough for that. You know, it's just that we have rules and they broke them. And so if it looks like they're going to continue breaking them, yeah, we can't have that. And so that's kind of the other side of it. So if they're testing you to see, okay, is this person going to continue to break the rules like over and over and over again, or have they fixed that issue? If they have fixed it, awesome, let's come back and we can be friends like on the server again. But if they're saying, I'm not even willing to be your friend before you fix yourself, I think that's saying something different. And I don't like that. If that, I hope that makes sense. And I don't mean to shame them. I'm just saying, ultimately, do your best to just be the best you and let that show through. And if that doesn't work, then it wasn't meant for that. Then your prayer was to show you that that you don't need them. But if your prayer is answered and you end up being friends with them, then your prayer is showing you, hey, look, you're doing great. But either way, you're doing great. Don't ever question that, because you don't have to. You know you've grown, right? Don't question that, whether they accept you or don't accept you. So anyways, I kind of said the same thing like over and over and over, but I was trying to find out how to say it right. Anyways,
I think you found multiple ways.
Okay,
to say it properly, and it was awesome.
Okay, good.
So yeah, that is absolutely right what Ryan was saying, because I think one of the things that happens, and we fall into this trap in relationships, we fall into this trap in our goals for school or work or business or finances or anything. We fall into this trap of being fixated on the result. And here in this case, the result is you'll get all these friends back, right? That's the result you want. That's the desired result. And that's not bad to have a desired result. That's definitely something to put out there and be like, okay, this is what I would like to see happen. However, as Ryan was saying, because you're dealing with other people, it's really, to some degree, it's outside of your control, because it's really up to them whether they decide to be your friend or not. So because that's the case, because we can't ever really be in control of the result, the thing to focus on is what can we be in control of? And Ryan said it perfectly. And he said, the thing you can be in control of is being the best you possible and loving them and showing them who you are. Because here's the thing. I used to think, a relationship with certain people was really, really important to me. And so what I would do was I would be somebody different than who I really was. And because I thought that's what they would like. And that's a trap. Because, I would think the worst case scenario would be, well, they're going to see through it and they're going to not like me. Right? But actually the worst case scenario is they become my friend, but they become friends with the fake me.
Mm.
And then I'm trapped being fake.
Yeah.
If I want to keep that friend, they don't really like me. They like who I showed them. And that doesn't work out, because eventually that's tiresome, and you can't live two lives all the time. Like, that's so difficult, and we don't have time or mental capacity to do that. It's crazy. So if one thing I would recommend is just remember, all you can do is all you can do. So for a relationship, like in this particular case, you do the best you can to be you, and decide now that no matter what they do, you're going to love them. Because that's a true friend. As we get closer and closer with every single one of our friends, we hurt them and they hurt us. And a true friend sticks, even though we hurt each other. So if you do something that offends somebody and hurts them, and they're like, well, I can't be your friend anymore. Well, okay, I guess they can't really be a true friend, because a true friend, when somebody makes a mistake, they still desire the friendship, and can offer grace and forgiveness and love. Right? And I picture this situation where you are being a true friend because you still desire their friendship, whereas they have rejected you in the past. So it seems to me like you are a better friend than they are. Not that it's a competition, but based on that circumstance, is like, okay, a true friend desires to keep the friendship, even though that person's gonna hurt me. It's inevitable. The closer we get, the more we're going to hurt each other, probably. The more we're going to have the opportunity to make a mistake, and it's going to hurt the other person. And we're not perfect, and I'm the least perfect of all. So anybody who's my close friend, you can ask Ryan. Sure. I make so many mistakes, it's ridiculous. And
perfect.
The amount of grace that Ryan has to put up with someone like me is amazing. Like, you should all listen to him, because he's a tremendously gracious person.
Yeah, you should listen to me. Joe's perfect.
No. So, but it's a crazy thing, especially with online relationships. Like, you don't necessarily always know who you're dealing with. I recently watched a movie, Ready Player One, and one of the lines that was hilarious is like, dude, you don't know who she is. This guy was like talking about how he was falling in love with this girl, and he's like, dude, she could be a dude. She could be a 300-pound dude living in his mom's basement in suburban Detroit, and her name is Chuck. I was like, oh yeah. So we don't necessarily know. Like, an online person sees you, like, when you look at an online personality, you see what they want you to see. And it may or may not truly be them. So we always circle back. The best thing you can possibly do is love them, desire friendship with them, and do the best you can to be the most lovable and respectful person you can be. But also remember, you are of infinite value yourself, just like them. You are such a valuable person. You are priceless. You are unique beyond everything else. Because you are a unique human being, you have infinite dignity. And so you should have the respect that you give others as well. And there's kind of a crass attitude that I've heard people, kind of have. And it's basically goes like this. I've known people that are like this. They're like, I am who I am. I do what I do, and I do what I want. And if you don't like it, that's your fault. And to some degree, that's true. Because we should be who we are. But we should try to be the best version of ourselves, for sure, like Ryan was talking about. And if you're doing that, Cherry, whatever happens, happens. But you are in charge of that. And you can do that. And the more you focus on what you're in charge of, the more that inner conflict that you're experiencing will start to go away, because you will know with confidence that you are doing everything you possibly can to be the best version of yourself, whether they like it or not. And you can still love someone even if they don't love you back. I have years of experience in that regard.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just a decision. It's just, hey, I'm going to love this person regardless. And then I already made the decision. So I'm going to do the best I can. So every time they do something mean or hurt me or don't talk to me, in my heart, I'm still going to love them, and I'm going to be sorry for them that they're acting that way, because they must really be hurting inside to act that way. So, Cherry, I love you so much. It's always a delight to see your bright red avatar come up in the chat.
Yeah. It's great.
And I love that you're here. So thank you for posting, and thank you for being here. And remember, no matter what happens, my love and prayers follow you everywhere you go.
Mm-hmm.
And Ryan, do you have anything else?
Nope, I've got nothing else. But thank you for that. And thank you, Cherry, for sharing that with us. For working to become and striving to become a person that can help others, help the world, and just be who you are. It's so cool to see how you've grown, and how anybody on this in this community is moving forward with their lives. A lot of times it's not because of us, and we take pretty much no credit for that. People will thank us, but ultimately it's up to you guys to do that for yourselves. And so we can't be anything but proud of you, because we can share perspective, share maybe some ideas, but you guys are the ones that actually do all the hard work for your lives. And you're the ones that are constantly controlling yourselves and giving yourselves the motivation and everything like that. So we're always just so proud to see anybody, make any adjustments to their life, because that's so cool to see.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yep. Yeah. So, wow, guys, thank you so much for being here. What? The Amazing 52.
Yeah. Welcome.
Welcome. I don't know if I've seen you before. Maybe I have and just forgotten. The avatar looks familiar. But at any rate, we are at the end of the show.
That's right.
And so all of you that are here that had a topic that we did not get to, I apologize. And Amira, welcome. I saw you pop in here right toward the end, and I'm sorry that we haven't we haven't had a chance to cover your topic yet.
Yeah.
But you're awesome, and we love you here, and you're always welcome, and it's a joy to have you. So at any rate, you guys are amazing. Special thanks to Jesse for producing this stream. And it went through the whole time and we didn't get shut off. It was like amazing. Just awesome.
Yeah, that's true. I didn't even realize
that. I couldn't believe it. We didn't have a technical glitch or anything the whole time.
Wow.
Whoa. That's all Jesse right there. Princess, thank you for handling the chat. Princess Yellow, she's our chat room maven. Hosting the chat room and making sure that we stay on track and beating me to posting the links most of the time. I did get a few in there, I think. But yes. She says, Maven? What's that? That's awesome person.
Maven definition: an expert or connoisseur.
Yes. She's the chat room maven.
Expert
and connoisseur.
Yeah. So like if you're a ham maven, you're an expert at knowing all things ham.
I am a turkey maven.
That sounds weird to say.
I am a getting kicked in the elbow by a second-degree black belt maven.
Nice. You know all things about that. Because
I'm an expert and a connoisseur. But anyway, thank you guys for being here. It was an absolute pleasure to be here on Don't Worry Wednesday. Come back on Friday. We're going to do this again. And so if you haven't subscribed to our channel, do it and hit the notification bell so you can know when we go live. And while in the meantime, go to bss.studio and join in the conversation there. There are lots and lots of people that would love to talk to you. Also, again, if you have a topic, feel free to post it in the chat. It'll be running for a little while. And then also you can go to our website and post it there in the Don't Worry Wednesday section, or send us an email, dww@bss.studio, and we would be happy to handle any of your topics. So, and Princess, there she posts. Man, she's awesome. Oh yeah, or Discord. I always forget Discord, and that's usually because I forget to check it.
That's all right. Sometimes I do too.
Yeah. But all right.
But yeah.
Thank you guys. We will see you next time on Don't Worry Wednesday.
Yep. Love you guys. See you later.
Have a good one, guys. Love you.